Stands charged with one count, two counts. Count one, homicide, murder in the second degree, punishable by life or 8 term of years. Count two is weapons, felony, firearm. That is mandatory 2 years consecutively with the preceding any term of imprisonment imposed for a felony or attempted felony conviction. Now, appearances, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Chief Prosecutor for the people, P70668.
It may please the Honorable Court. Good afternoon. Byron Pittsbury on behalf of Mr. Sims, who stands at the defense table to my left.
Are there any issues that we need to address?
Your Honor, there's some outstanding, pursuant to just following our conversation at sidebar, there's some outstanding discovery issues brother counsel and I agree exist. It's my understanding that the OIC is in the process of getting a warrant to discover if there's any more video discovery out there. But I would hate to go forward not having full discovery. It's not fair to the client. And as such, we're just asking for a short adjournment. And I guess I would defer as it relates to how long further counsel thinks will take to determine if we've gotten discovery.
Do you have any discovery at this time?
I do have some, but we acknowledge that it's incomplete and maybe more.
Judge, I would agree. This incident took place on a doorbell camera, but it's somewhat glitchy and it skips around a bit throughout the incident. So I think there's some holes that need to be filled if you can film. And so we're going to request any additional videos from the company that has those videos.
Certainly, you said it occurred. Well, it didn't occur on the camera, but it was captured by a camera, correct? The incident.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. So I guess my question would be, if it's captured by a doorbell camera, was there a canvas of the block to see if any other cameras revealed any information that might be useful in this investigation?
Yeah, I believe it was pretty thorough canvassing of the area to see if there was any other door cameras, and none were found.
So the request from the defense now is concerning a particular doorbell camera.
Correct.
Something that would probably add a little more in-depth information as to what occurred and who might have committed the crime, if there was a crime.
It's from the same camera. It's just the camera skips, 1 second they're right in front of the house and another second they're over on the other yard.
All right.
So there's some.
So that leads to some problem, any type of concern that it's jumbling the images and the time.
Yeah, and missing some portions. I think.
And you think that there's a chance that going to the company might have some type of master recording that is important?
Correct.
And counsel has already indicated he wants that information. And certainly when we're talking about pursuit of justice, you need all the information. Well, we need to present all the information that exists.
Right.
And if we don't know this exists, but it is proven for us to ask for more, then that would be more in line with pursuit of justice, correct?
Exactly.
I certainly agree that that should probably happen. Now, the next concern, I guess, is what you do have, is that sufficient evidence for at least a probable cause number?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I am anticipating, and we did a little preview that there's going to be a request for some type of adjustment in bonds.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that something that you have discussed with opposing counsel, and there's any agreement, or is this a decision made by me?
Well, I think we both agree that a bond, he's been remanded, so there's no bond. I think we agree that there's no objection to a bond, but certainly the amount, the amount of the bond, I don't foresee a personal bond, but the amount of the cash bond, I would argue is probably, going to be, I would imagine it's the court's discretion. I don't think we're going to probably come to a number.
Well, what I like to do, counsel, is for, I don't know, your client's situation, financial or other. And I don't know if you had this discussion with opposing counsel, but I don't think prosecution is gonna start off with a bond that they're gonna say they're gonna agree with, or maybe they will, I don't know. Maybe you have something that you think would be a fair bond. But it's my experience is it's the defense who's asking for something, so.
Yeah, I agree totally.
So what do you think it would be a fair bond?
Just look, can I give you a little background on the case? And these, I'm just gonna elegant facts that I think are uncontroversial.
Okay.
This is a situation by individuals who know each other. My client he's a contractor. He's owned a contracting company for over a decade. This individual, the decedent, was one of his employees. There was an altercation, a physical altercation at the employee's home in which my client was left bloody. Words were exchanged. A gun was brandished by the decedent. A shot was fired, and I'll just say it's on video. It's fired in the air above my client, above the heads of the decedent and my client. My client retreats to his car, and this is the point of the video where you can't see what happens next. But my client retreats to his car, and he's followed by the decedent. The decedent has his gun in his hand. There's some obstructions with the video when you get to, I'm just going to say colloquially, the salient part. You hear gunfire. The decedent collapses. So you've got a guy who retreats. He's followed with the guy with the gun. What exactly happens in those crucial seconds before a gun is fired, I guess, is really, which is really why we're here. My client has no assaultive history. He's a business owner. He's got stable residency. He has retained counsel. Certainly had he, I mean, I think even both of us agree a remand is inappropriate. Had he been given a cash bond, even an extraordinary cash bond, he could have had a redetermination hearing in front of Judge McConaughey because he got no bond. You got a remand, he wasn't entitled to a redetermination hearing, which the bond is frequently lowered. I mean, brother counsel and I had a case, I'm just frank, very similar to this not long ago. And second degree, same charges, almost very similar facts on video.
Yes. Sir, you can have a seat. And you can as well, officer.
Oh, and should say, during the course of the altercation, my client was shot. That's why he's got the bandage on his hand. I would proffer to the court that he's not getting appropriate medical care in the Wayne County Jail. He's got bandages which are to be rewrapped every day. That's not happening. I guess there are rods in his finger, and he snagged his finger on something. One of the rods was protruding. He wasn't getting proper medical care. Your Honor, this man is not a threat. He's not a threat to the community. He's not a threat to flee. He's got large ties here. They hired an attorney. He's not getting proper medical care. This is certainly a very subtle question of fact. I think everything I've said, we've agreed because it's on video. I would ask for a cash bond, but a very reasonable one in light of all of the factors, no risk to the community, no prior history, lack of appearance is extraordinarily high. The fact that he needs medical attention that he's not getting. So I respectfully ask for a bond, which is consistent, and I'm just going to throw this is consistent on bonds. We've even had on cases very similar, 50,000, 10%. I would ask for that.
$5,000.
Which is, I'm going to be frank with you, Judge, that's what they're doing. And that's what, to be honest with you, I think Judge McConaughey did a redetermination hearing on a guy, very similar facts, and his bond was 50,000, 10.
You know, and there's a reason that the bonds are not as high and sometimes exorbitant as they used to be, because there's been a determination, societal factors, that everybody should be released on the bond. I don't necessarily agree with that, but there are people who say nobody, this would happen if they were rich. Well, that might be true, but we live in the world that we live in. So just because a rich person could pay a bond that somebody else, because they may be able to pay $1 million cash bond. So we're saying that is unfair in a society where you have people who are charged to say that they don't have personally $5,000 or $10,000 for $500,000 bond. So the bond should be adjusted to accommodate people who just happen to be poor. I don't know that that makes them any more or less dangerous to the community, but that's just a factual situation that is that we will always recognize people with a lot of money always will have an unfair advantage. It doesn't even account for the community. It's just like whatever bond I can come up with, this person can pay it unless I give them a rebate. And that doesn't happen except in certain circumstances, as we know. So that's why all of a sudden people are getting bonds that are something that they can't pay. Doesn't mean that it's any fairer for the community or victims. It's just that there are people who believe that everybody should have a bond. I don't necessarily believe that, but I recognize someone is saying there's an economic disadvantage to poor people that go to jail because they're poor. They don't go to jail because they're poor necessarily. They go to jail because in some cases the facts are clear that the person is a danger to the community. But someone else will say, well, maybe a rich person would have got out, so we should make the alter the facts socially to make sure that that person gets a bond. And to me, in some cases, that's ridiculous, but that's the reality of life today. Yes, sir.
That's why I did start out with the recitation of, and I know this court has sort of adopted that philosophy, the redetermination hearings and the inequities with the poor defendants and rich defendants and trying to even the playing field. I know the court has adopted that approach. I mean, Eric Holder was here, they had a press conference about it, but that's why I started out like the circumstance. This guy's a working man, he's a company man, he supports his family, he's followed with a gun, did not have the weapon, it's the period. Let me say, I don't want to get back to it, but certainly the other guys, the decedent's got a weapon, fired the weapon, followed this man. Those are the facts. Yeah. Those are the facts, uncontroverted. He's totally stable within the community. This is a terrible situation, but it is not one that is indicative that the community is in danger. Certainly any restrictions, I would say, if the court were to give him a bond, that would prevent my client from going near the home or the community where this decedent lived. I mean, obviously we'd have no objection to that. I don't think he has any desire to be over there. But I would just ask for a reasonable cash amount because of the facts. And then, if you want to, there's a little something on top as it relates to the societal circumstances that this court has adopted, as relates to poor versus rich defendants.
I understand that, Councilman, and every case is separate and different, and I recognize that happens. I also have to recognize that a little bit that I've heard, having no knowledge of this case, haven't read haven't read anything, haven't even read the investigative report. So I know nothing about the case, and I actually like to start out that way. But just what you said, and hearing no objection from defense counsel or the officer in charge, I do recognize that I've heard there was a shooting going both directions, that one person was shot, the other person was killed. I don't know if it's a better shot or electric or anybody, but certainly there's facts that indicate that both have had weapons. I don't know who would be at fault. Sometimes the person who lives is the one that gets charged. I don't know if that's because, again, what precipitated it and was one side self-defense or was both sides self-defense in some sense. I don't know. But I do believe that this is the type of case that I can't just make an automatic judgment and say, I heard a case where one person had a gun, one person had opportunity, one person was in a position to do something and they did something and somebody did from it. So there's some facts that's a lot easier to understand and say, no, this is a case that I do believe. One person had a gun, one person shot another person 10 times, and somewhat factual basis show that one guy would have been the bad guy. So I don't know necessarily get that from this particular case. Counsel, do you have any objection to a reduction to bond that would could be met by the
Seeing it at remand now, Your Honor, as Mr. Fitz told the court, I don't have an objection to a bond. I believe that what Mr. Fitz placed on the record is too low. I would ask the court to go higher than that. However, I don't have an objection to giving the defendant a bond. He does work. He has retained his own counsel. He has more money than most people, I believe. It seems to put up a more reasonable bond.
Let me ask you a question that goes right to the meat of the matter. Do you believe this man is a flight risk?
The only basis I would have for that is the severity of the charges.
The severity of the charges doesn't necessarily mean the person's a flight risk. It's just crime.
And
I mean, we look at things. He has a home in Detroit, correct?
right.
He has family in Detroit?
As
So
far
are
as
you married?
Yes,
You have children?
yes.
They all live in Detroit? They all live in
Yes, sir.
Detroit?
Yes,
You have a business?
yes, sir.
Are you the sole owner of this business?
Yes, sir.
Is this business the sole provider of the family, of your family income?
Yes, sir.
Does your client have a criminal record?
No,
Nothing?
no,
Not even juvenile?
no.
Um, What registry?
Yeah,
I know you might have to ask your client, I don't know if this is a discussion you had.
Yes,
yeah, yes,
Police officers took the weapon.
yes.
The weapon has been run through APHIS and everything and not used in any other crimes?
correct, Your Honor. And this is a working man, Judge. I mean, listen, all homicides, tragic. No one wants anybody, but on the, I mean, just seeing what we've all seen over the years, this guy's well, you can be charged with crimes and not be, as they say, quote unquote, a menace to society. I mean, any one of us can be caught up in a crime that,
I hope not.
and I hope not either, but I'm just saying, life is such that anything, but on, having represented thousands of people, I mean, this is a decent human being, a hardworking guy who finds himself where he is.
Counsel, I ask certain questions because there are certain telltale things that happen that we recognize that a person is probably more inclined to be a person who would involve himself in criminal behavior. And that's why I asked, was he living in a family home? Was he married? Did he have children? Was he self-employed? All of these things are generally some of the things that we look to see that a person is more stable and less likely to flee.
Totally understand, Judge.
And that's why I asked those questions, not because I needed to become so familiar with the client that we're like buddies. It's just that I need to know, get a snapshot of who he was and who he is at this time. And certainly, as we recognize, all of the things that I ask questions are the opposite answer would tend to be a person I would be less likely to trust with giving bond. Like I said, family, children, family home, no criminal record, registered weapon. These are not the things that we recognize, that we regularly see with people who are criminally minded. So it appears that he's done everything society asked for to show that he is a working and community-minded member. So I certainly feel that I have to reduce the bond. The question is, what is fair, and what is what would amount to basically house arrest? So. Let me ask the prosecution. You've already indicated that you do not believe that it should be a personal, and I wasn't going to do a personal one. What do you think is fair? And I'm certainly that's not going to be the final answer necessarily. Very well, maybe, but I don't know that. What do you think would be a fair bond? What would you request if you were standing before a magistrate and you were saying, we got a person and I'm requesting a bond at this particular time, or a remand, if the judge or magistrate were not going to go with that, what would you ask for?
Judge, I'm not a numbers guy, but because the court's asking. I would have suggested adding a 0 to defense counsel's request, so the 500,000, 10%.
For most people, that would be a remand.
I believe it would be reasonable for this defendant based on his work in his ability for retained attorney, assuming he owns a home and can see a bail bond, then get some help if necessary as well. So that would be my.
Okay. Counsel?
Well, I'm gonna say respectfully, and I think Brother Counsel and I, obviously this court's gonna do what it feels is best. But just giving some perspective as to how, in the, a lot of times, especially in this federal system, they'll look at like treating similarly situated individuals in a similar fashion. And we just did a second-degree murder case in which the bond, I think it was redetermined, was 50,000, 10. Second-degree murder on video. I mean, it's all three of us. Same OIC, same prosecutor. We just finished. So very similar circumstances. And that was the bond. So I use that as a basis upon which I can make some, not just guessing, but how are people similarly situated being treated? The issue is a lot of times, I think the goal is to be significant but not greater than necessary to achieve the aims of bond, which is how much is, what does it take to keep the guy here? And what does it take to protect the community? Nothing in his life shows he's a danger to the community. And he's got every reason, as you said, to stay here. And if he's got that kind of money, I'm not charging enough. I don't think that's necessary, Your Honor. I've given an example of a bond in a very similar circumstance that was set by the chief judge in this building. I would ask for something akin to that, making it 100% more, I think, as this court said, which I agree, which is essentially a remand. I would ask for something akin to that, in that range. If the court doesn't want to do that exact number, obviously we'll live with whatever the court does, but I think that's a basis upon which we can even start to say what's being done in this building with similar circumstances.
Well, I don't know that that's necessarily the case, counsel, because we have 30 judges in this building, and I don't know, I can point to 2 or 3 judges that I can say would all do the same thing. So I don't think that that's necessarily standard. I think the standard is, one, is
You're right.
your client a danger to the community, irrespective of what any other judge would look at. Through my eyes, I have to make a determination if I believe your client is a threat or a danger to the community. I have to say that based on everything that I've heard, that there's no criminal history, there's no criminal activity going on at this particular time, that these were 2 people. And unfortunately, this is one of the sad things in society, is that often husband kill wives, wives kill husbands, family brothers kill brothers, people that love each other, something weird happens and they kill each other. It doesn't mean that this person had criminal something. People that we love, we get very angry with for some reason. I don't know why. People we love get hurt. It often happens with husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, and that would be the case that you think would never happen. But because of those strong emotions, when anger gets elevated and magnified as well, it's a sad situation. We always hear about people who kill people they love, and I've actually known this to happen. People, and you see them crying over them afterward, saying, I didn't mean it, I love you, whatever. It's a weird phenomenon that we get more angry with people that we love. So if things happen, I don't know, I'm hearing here that there's a relationship, I don't know if it amounts to a familial relationship like best friends or
Employee
cousins or something like that. Employees often, we employ people that we care about. So, and I don't know if that's a situation like this. But I've not heard anything that this man is a danger generally to the community. And that is the standard. Is he a threat to the community, a threat to himself, a threat to family members? How old are you, Mr.
35.
35? And there's one other thing that I'd like to look at. After this event happened and the police were contacted, where was Mr. Sims?
On the scene.
So there was no flight team.
I shot multiple times.
Oh, okay. I mean, was he mobile?
Listen, he can drive, arguably, you could say,
The injury was to his hand.
to his hand, and there were other people in the vehicle at the time who, if he
was
clearly
mobile.
said,
He was-
hey, take off.
He was mobile, so he didn't go to the hospital. Did he wait for the police to come?
I think there was some facts about the vehicle not being able to start.
All right.
But he didn't run away.
But that to me does not necessarily mean that there would have been flight. That could have been for medical attention or anything, but in any event, I can tell you, somebody who wants to flee will get away if they are mobile. And I didn't hear anything. Was he mobile at that time?
I believe his legs worked, so
Yeah.
there was a vehicle there, whether or not it could start, I don't know.
If it could start or not, was it anybody else there who could take him with? Were there requests to take you to the hospital or, and I wouldn't even consider that flight if it was to the hospital. But was there any type of request or attempt to flee the scene?
I would agree with Brother Counsel that, based upon what we have, there was no attempt to flee. Like you said, Judge, somebody wants to, at the end of the day, they want to run, his feet work, he could have ran.
So, all right. This is a remand that I'm gonna reduce that. It is gonna be a 10% bond. This bond is going to be reduced to, what is it, $50,000? Remand? $50,000 cash?
I think it's just a remand. I don't
It's
think
just
there's
a
any,
remand.
I don't think there's any number.
Actually, a remand is not something we even supposed to consider for, but in some extenuating circumstances. So what I am going to do. I'll make sure. What I'm going to do, I'm going to reduce this to a $70,000, 10% on good conditions. It's going to have to be check-ins on a daily basis. Where if you fail to check in, there's going to be a warrant for his arrest. He's going to have to show it. Actually, what I'm just going to do is I'm going to give him a tether. And $70,000, 10%.
That's acceptable. And it's,
Well,
and I'm just,
it's 10%. I don't think it's $100,000. That's not. I said the process is a 10% bond. I'm going to make it a $100,000 10% bond with a GPS seller.
could we maybe, could you maybe split the difference from 7 and 10, maybe 8?
I can do that, counsel. So.
Oh, okay, as it relates to the tether, is that for house arrest or is he allowed to the extent he can't work?
He's going to be allowed to do work, and he's going to be allowed to work if it's not at his home, obviously. He's going to be allowed to take children to school if that's an issue. He's going to be allowed to do work. He's going to be allowed to go to the grocery store. He's going to be allowed to do things. He's not going to be able to hang out in clubs at night or things of that nature.
Okay, that's fair.
Do you want to set times that he needs to be at home or can be out? Like a 7 a.m. to
Yeah, we can do that.
9 p.m. or something?
We can do that.
Judge, I want to bring up one other thing, if I may. And Mr. Sims brought this to my attention. And once again, I'm going on what's being put forward to me. Once again, I'm not sure who's in here. I know you've got a family that is, both families are hurt and upset. But I understand there have been some threats made against the Sims family. His wife has been threatened. He's somewhat concerned about going back to the home where he lived because the victim's family knows where he lives and he's fearful of going back there because threats have been made. I'm not sure if these are the victim's family who's in here, if the court can maybe.
I would do that.
But he's concerned about going back there because of the threats. And I've heard this from 2 or 3 family members that they're getting threats. So he's a little scared to go back to that.
Okay, well, you know what, we can address that. First and foremost, I don't know who's in the courtroom, and I'm not going to ask. But what I am going to say, if you are the family members of the victim in this case, Donzel Lovett, if you are members, I'm gonna suggest to you that you allow this to play out in the courts. If you participate in some type of self-help or revenge, then you are going to be subject to criminal prosecution yourself. If in fact you have lost a loved one and now you want to go out and do something to take care of it, and you approach someone with a gun and you get arrested because they may be charged with assault, and I don't know if it's discharge or if it's just a threat where it's only assault, or if it's discharge of a weapon where it may be assault with intent to murder, and you go to prison, that would be the tragedy. Because you have lost a family member, you've lost a loved one, and you do your family no favor by doing something where you go to prison yourself. If you have children, you do yourself no favor by your children losing you. So I would suggest that you let the police do their job, you let the lawyers do their job. You do not get involved because just because you lost a loved one, and I know that's probably the hardest thing, that one day you have somebody in your life that took care of your and that person is gone. And you naturally want to strike out and want to hurt someone, but you only hurt yourself and you won't hurt your family. Because again, if you have children and you go away to prison, you did not help your children. You do not get to guide your children through life, so maybe they can do something remarkable in life and be a great person. And maybe that person doesn't do something that they were capable of doing because you were not there to assist them. So, you know, hold on to the families that you have left. You mourn the people that we lose, but we don't do something that would shame their existence in their life. So you do something where you can show the people that come behind you, your children, your nephews, your nieces, whoever they are, you show them how great they can be, as opposed to I've lost someone and I'm gonna go down the path. So I just say that to you because you know you're not immune from some type of prosecution because you are out for revenge. So we're gonna do this, and I have no idea how this is gonna play out in the court. It's gonna be a trial, and you know, hopefully justice is served and the right thing will happen. Mr. Sims, if you have any other weapons in your house, you're gonna have to surrender. You're not gonna have any weapons in your home, all right, or access to those weapons.
Right. In light of what we said, do you want him, is it the court's position, do you want him to stay at this home, that it's a home of record, or can he stay at someplace else?
No, as long as he reports to the police, and there is going to be, or the probation officer or bond officers or whomever, that place may not be safe. That's yet another place that is approved and everybody knows where he is. That's not flight. Okay. Flight is when you just up and you go and no one knows where you are. If he reports into whoever is supervising his bond and the police department, that is not flight. Would you agree, officer?
Yeah, I agree. And just for the record, I'll have that discussion with the victim's family as well. Make sure they understand.
And certainly, I don't know if there's anybody in this room, I'm just erring on the side of caution that's been relayed to me, and any help that the court and the people could provide to keep everybody safe would be appreciated.
And I recognize that, and we don't ask because you can have your privacy rights as well. You don't have to tell us who you are. I just tell you if you are involved in this case in some kind of way, do not get involved in any type of retribution or anything of that. So back up to what I said this was. I know you had me adjust. I started off at 100, we went down to what's a 7 year.
You started out
We
at
started at
70,
70, went up to
and
100.
went
And
up
I
to-
went up, and then you asked me to go back down or something.
Yes, I did.
And that was, what was that 80,000 10% or 70,000 10%? I don't remember now.
I thought the 100 was good.
I think down, as long as he can comply with all terms and conditions, obviously, if he violates, it's gonna be a remand.
Sir, Joe, what did you come down to, the 70 or the 80?
That's what I was trying to remember, not report, did that come to that, if you have it at your, immediate access?
Search here.
I don't think it came back down.
I don't think you came back down.
I didn't,
We just do, but I just threw it out there.
you know what, it doesn't matter. It's gonna be 80,000 10%.
Fair enough, Judge, thank you very much, we appreciate it.
And all the other conditions that I indicated. There is going to be a curfew unless, the work hours are later, so. He can leave the house at 7 in the morning, because certain jobs would do that. Sir, are you still have your own business?
Yes, sir.
All right, so what are your normal working, your business hours?
Typically get to my first job site around 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
So
All right, so you probably leave the house somewhere around 7 a.m. to do that, correct? So we're gonna make your curfew hours, 7 a.m. to, what time do you normally do your last job?
Typically, I come home about, I would say about 7.
All right, so, you're gonna be in by 8 every evening, so. You're in the home from 8 a.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning.
Your Honor, thank you very much. There's,
Okay, we gotta get a date for our next, for a date for, you asked for an adjournment so you can, work with council to do something. We're gonna have to get another date for the preliminary examination, so how much time do you think you need?
the answer is really predicated on if the OIC, the good detective, is able to find something else and get, basically, I would just ask for literally 3 or 4 days after they find. So I said, if they find something, give me 3, give it to me, give me
Well,
3.
we're gonna have to have a date, if nothing's found, so we're just gonna have to, we're gonna have to have a date where we're gonna return the preliminary examination. So,
OIC's indicated to me that 2 weeks should be sufficient.
okay. So what we're gonna do is, we're just gonna do a preliminary examination 3 weeks from today's date, or something like that, just to make sure we get that time covered.
So I just want to put on the record, you feel that within 2 weeks, you can either get it or determine that there's nothing to get?
That's right.
Okay, so that'll give me another week. If they got it, it'll give me a week.
So, we need to date now,
Okay,
3 weeks or so from today's date.
okay, September 12th at 1:30.
That works for everything.
That's fine, Your Honor.
And if there is anyone in here who is related or loved by the victim in this case, I am sorry for your loss, and hopefully this all works out just. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Your Honor, one other thing, if I may. Brother counsel and I, there's video. I've got to get into the county jail to show Mr. Sims the video, which means I've got to bring my computer in. I
Well, I thought you were gonna get bonds.
oh, that's right. What am I talking about? You know what, Judge? You're right. But you signed it just for whatever reason.
I think that was signed in advance by Judge McConaughey.
Okay.
I was countersigned it.
Yeah, just in case I'm still, after all this conversation of his age, Judge. All this yeah. So
No,
hopefully,
I
hopefully
would
yes.
accept that, but I know that I'm way older than you, so.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful he'll get out and that we don't have to,
Well,
go to jail to show this girl videos.
I don't know what financial situation. I took some cues from what you were saying, and I think that is more than good.
I have no, thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Simmons, this, you're gonna have your bond. This is not, I messed up, I'll give you another chance. This is a one-shot deal. If you violate, you will be remanded.
Okay, Your Honor, thank you very much.
And I'm just giving much consideration because your injury, I don't know if, I certainly don't want you to get some type of infection or something like that, and maybe through the arm or something like that. So, it's all on you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Judge.
Also, how long have you been here?
With the department 5 years.
5 years. How long was homicide?
2.
2. That just goes to show how old I am now.
You got the bond reduction form?
It should be something over there.
All right.
Counsel. No.
Both of us are.
Yeah.
Blank thing number.
Dismissal
5 years, 2.
and,
Yeah, I gave.
oh, here we go. It's on spot. I found it on spot. Right here.
Yes. Originally.
All right. Right. So, yeah.
Just look at or we can take that state. One for it's sold at 12 flat. Okay. Just to make the limit amount of days, and I tried to put the date in, they had locked off, and I just called and get it blocked.
For the student coming back here?
Yeah, so the 12th is not good for the court because it's afternoon Tigers game.
Oh, you know what? All the important things we have in life, and we can't do something because we're next to the type of day. And it's a Tiger game.
We cannot do the 12th.
Because people can't get down to the courthouse. Because, you know, they can't park their cars, they can't, you know, it's basically prohibited.
Yeah, I don't know.
So we can do the next day if that's available.
Yeah,
If
something-
it- if it's
Friday.
We cannot use the
Oh,
12.
we said we got it.
I got that one in,
Oh, it's
they're
after
telling me
the
that,
games, every parking spot is taken up, people take it up to the courthouse.
I can do the 10th or that, or the.
Okay.
Whatever.
it's a 10.
I think, I think, I
No,
just,
just pick a date that you know,
okay,
so we.
let's just do the 13th. I don't think I have anything.
Let's get the clerk, and then
She was there.
That's fine, I'll go ahead, I'll put it on the
So
13th
I'm just in the afternoon.
at 1:30. Okay? Okay.
So who you were? No, that's good.
Brian, so.
Brian, someone else said hello. You see now? Works for me also. Is he a principal or deputy chief? Okay. And structure, yeah. Similar to campus. 2 weeks ago.
Okay, what's your birthday?
August 3rd.
Third?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
91. You know how long I've known you.
Yeah.
So, you know, trying cases against them, or things like that, and I was prosecuting after some, good thing. We did a case, I think it was one of his last cases. Police officer that was, killed, ladies. It was much about that. It was 2-3 years ago. And, guy, they stopped at investigation. Things come from this news. And they got massive contracts. And so, somehow they both went to the respective. Young lady, she was a police officer.
Who was, said how, you were looking and she got it done.
No. The guy said something to the girls, and they just kind of overwhelmed. The guy said, you know, like, and then shooting started.
And then the girls went back to their car.
They were in the car, and the guy said something, and they just started talking from the car.
Yeah.
And, so somehow they just started shooting at each other. But she was a police officer, and
One of the ladies.
one of the police officers, she was one of the.
Oh, she got killed.
Yeah, and so I think it was her that killed her. One of those things where she pulled her gun out because she's a police officer, and, you know, she shouldn't have. And so the guy basically was like, I don't know if we got a gun. And so they started shooting at her. And the bullet hit her, her type of skills even more. The bullet hit her right at the bullet went in, he saw no scar, he saw no, you know, the only thing that the steel ball on the stainless steel very body was perfect. It looked like just a beautiful girl.
There was that one officer who was using traffic and she was good to pull her. I think, had relationships with many folks on the force, okay, brought more, she was well known.
Oh, I remember.
She was good to pull her. Like, because she was good looking woman and people would, she had hot temper, she's always approached, they pull her back.
Yeah, there's some people that should not do something. At all, because they don't publish it.
Yeah.
I actually applied to the police department. I applied to the police officer, I applied to General Motors, Central Office, General Motors called me on Friday, and the police department called me on Wednesday. I kind of wanted to do the conversation now, but it worked out, you know, right here, so, because the woman was up there, we were off. Yeah.
So you're not teaching martial arts?
I haven't taught it.
So that's-
I'm still on my way to do. You know, but I was one of the very fortunate people. I actually ran into somebody, got kind of about and taught real martial art, not the karate jiu-jitsu in America or anything like that. So whatever we did it for real every day. What's this called kickball? And he would give somebody a combat knife and say, "Hey," and they would try to do it, because that's the only way you learn for real. Because if I know you're not gonna stand me for real, that's not what you do. Yeah, I had to read every time they came at me and say, "Nice." In fact, the knife went through on my arm.
Okay, you real knife.
Oh, yeah, no, you really did for real every day. For hours every day, you stand up and drive your foot into a brick wall full of force, hours and hours. So if you ever hit something, I've gone through boards like this with nothing but my fingers. Like that. Because I was just hours a day, I was at the beach, doing this, or a rubber, take a inner tube tire and put it around the zero top, so it's so tight that you hit it, you can't go in it's just like, just killing you. You're training like that for hours every day, meditating to the point where anyone I dated, I had to tell them that I'm okay, but you're not gonna see any life signs, my body's gonna be cold, you're not gonna, you know, you're not gonna be, I'm not being, so we used to have to get that.
That's part of the meditating.
And that's because I thought, you know, you can never, that, you did, this, you're okay. If you don't have that fear, you don't believe it's gonna happen. And in life, in the Marine Corps, every time something would happen, it was like, I remember stuff like the biggest guy in the Marine Corps was everything was because everything was your team, you win. Yeah. And it would be like stupid stuff sometimes, like put everybody on the mat, every squad or platoon or whatever, and you throw the other side off. I don't care what you have to do, just hit them, toss them on the floor or whatever. And biggest guy in our company is about 6'4", about 300 pounds, and he was a beast. He was all muscle. And he was just like tossing people into the head out, wrong rings. And the people that were on my team that were thrown off, it was just a few of us left. And they said, somebody said, wait a minute, help Brandon number 2. This guy just happened to have my same last name. So he's a big guy. He's a huge guy. Had him up like this, literally. He just picked him up like this guy. He was probably 6'1", probably 220 pounds or something like that. And he had him like a bad guy. He was tossing. And so I looked over and I looked at this lady, and told her I didn't want to see. Caught him right here. And for a second, happy with that. Get down, pass that
Wait, something, what's here?
I just caught him under here, I just talked, not to around him, so, you know, because he had the guy up like this.
Oh,
And so this was just open.
Right.
And it, so, and after that, I was one of the smallest guys in there. Like, everything that happened, it wasn't,
You a bad man.